8U to all the unlucky ones on this powerful morning. Good morning. In the show, dear viewers, as they say, the deeper into the woods, the thicker the partisans. And the further we go down this very road of war, paved with the good intentions of all sorts of coalitions, lustful, I mean eager, and other figures from Europe and other countries. Things just keep getting worse, worse and worse. Today, for example, Zelensky threatened Belarus. He didn't just say, like, if you do this, then Europe, then the US, then Trump. No, he's talking about preemptive strikes. What is a preemptive strike? It's a strike in advance. So, you're being threatened, let's say. Here's the situation. You're somewhere in kindergarten. Some boy tells you, I'm going to hit you now. You deliver a preemptive strike and hit him on the head with a stick. That's what's called a preemptive strike. Zelensky made the following statement today. From the words of Slavutic, well, naturally, when there's talk about nuclear strikes, everyone Zelensky is traveling somewhere. He warned the leadership of Belarus about the consequences of aggressive actions. He held meetings primarily among the leaders of GROM from the northern regions, Kiev region, Chernihiv region, and he stated that Ukraine has the ability to act preemptively both against Russian territories from which the threat originates and against the actual leadership of Belarus, which should stay alert. The leadership of Belarus. This is Alexander Lukashenko, who overall keeps his country now, well, in better order than any other CIS country, let's put it that way. Well, maybe Kazakhstan is somewhere close as well. If you live in Kazakhstan, let us know if things are good for you, if everything is fine, and if there are no revolutionary sentiments. But apparently things are more or less okay there. So, he stated that the main issues are defensive fortifications, armament fortifications. Well, I think you all remember what fortifications are. These are those little houses. Strengthening the border, supporting the defense forces in the Chernihiv-Kiev direction. This direction covers the border with Belarus, which, according to Zelensky, Russia really wants to drag into this war. Also with the Bryansk region. Zelensky says the following: we have the opportunity to strengthen our positions, and we also have the ability to take preemptive action against Russian territories from which threats could come. There is also a threat concerning the actual leadership of Belarus, which needs to stay alert. That is, they need to really feel that there will be consequences if there are aggressive actions against Ukraine or our friends. Well, preemptive actions are just insane. So, again, this is some kind of preemptive, it's a direct threat of physical action against something there, either against the leadership of Belarus or against Belarus itself. If something happens, well, for example, if Zelensky thinks that Belarus wants to do something bad towards Ukraine, there would be a preemptive strike right away, I don't know, by those flamingos, those children of the sunset, the pink ones or something else. But still, that's the kind of statements being made. And I didn't make this up. That's a direct quote. Truly nothing is surprising anymore. The head of state recalled the experience in 2022 when the Russian troops advanced from the territory of Belarus. We will not forget this either. Our defense, security and intelligence services know the threats and how to respond. They will act justly without a doubt. And today, by the way, we responded justly on the territory of the Russian Federation, and I am sure that literally today or tomorrow there will be shelling of Ukraine again. Because, well, like in Krylov's fable, the cuckoo praises the rooster because the rooster praises the cuckoo. And here, well, they strike each other, and one delivered a poor strike. That's why it starts with a retaliatory strike, then another retaliatory strike. And these retaliatory strikes in general keep coming and coming and coming. Then Lukashenko responded, by the way, in an interesting way. He stated that the only condition for Belarus entering the war is if there is direct aggression against Belarusian territory. Belarus will be drawn into the war, according to Lukashenko, only in one case, if aggression is committed against our territory. And here again, this is a veiled warning. That is, if Zelensky for some reason thinks that attacks are coming on Concha Zaspa or on those dynasty houses, Lukashenko will carry out a preemptive strike from Belarus. Lukashenko will see that a strike was carried out against Belarus first, and then he will immediately carry out this so-called retaliatory strike, and in this case Belarus will be drawn into the war. What does the leadership of Ukraine want? Well, it's obvious. They want the waters to stay murky for as long as possible. Then they can catch bigger and bigger fish. By fish, I mean, of course, the implementation of military plans, nothing else. They can drag this out for as long as possible. And in that case, they say it's not about getting dragged in anymore, this is what Lukashenko says, but about the joint defense with Russia. And by the way, Russia literally delivered nuclear warheads to Belarus during these very exercises. No comments here, really. Belarus now has nuclear weapons, although they're actually controlled by officers from the Russian Federation. Nevertheless, there are already 2 countries close to Ukraine that have nuclear weapons. I don't mean European countries or those from the European Union, I mean the ones that are right next to Ukraine, directly bordering it. But of course, the powerful leaders say nothing about this. They don't say anything. And one more thing, for some reason Lukashenko is called a self-proclaimed president here. This is on a Ukrainian website. That's very strange, since Lukashenko is clearly not a self-proclaimed president. I can't imagine what kind of person would write that. But honestly, I'm not even surprised anymore, because journalism has long since collapsed somewhere down there. You could even say that journalism has drowned, and something else has surfaced instead. Well, you could probably still call it journalism, but most likely it's already something derived from that very drowned journalism. Call it whatever you want. There are bubbles or something else, maybe biological waste, but that's no longer journalism. Absolutely not. And then Lukashenko made some quite logical statements. If President Zelensky wants to talk about something, notice he didn't insult Zelensky. If he wants to consult or anything else, please, we are open to that. I'm ready to meet with him anywhere in Ukraine or Belarus and maybe talk about the prospects. That is, he's not saying go to Moscow or somewhere, or to Machu Picchu or anywhere else. No, Lukashenko says directly, if you want, come to Belarus, if you want, I'll come to you. But I'm literally sure that today, at the time of recording this video, some report about Zelensky or something like that will come out. Honestly speaking, and of course he won't go anywhere, he can say that he's busy and that he won't go anywhere because it contradicts some security protocols. And that most likely he won't invite Lukashenko to Ukraine because they're, well, out of all those insults you could pick just one. It would be surprising if they meet, but nevertheless. And Lukashenko also added that, for some reason, with the Americans, Germans, Poles, Lithuanians and Latvians, we, meaning Belarusians, have something to talk about, but with Ukraine there's nothing to discuss. And also, as if without any insults, meaning Lukashenko's proposal to meet and discuss urgent issues is unlikely, I'm sure, to find any understanding among the current Kyiv authorities. What is the Kyiv government busy with right now? They are establishing control over 5 regions of Ukraine and looking for a 5th column. What is a 5th column? These are traitors. They're actively searching for a 5th column in 5 regions. In the regions of Ukraine, moreover, the measures to search for these so-called enemies of the people are so harsh that all of this is being called unprecedented measures. What awaits the residents, asks the patriotic resource Kavilya, and what awaits is the involvement of unprecedented forces and resources. The measures are being carried out in accordance with the decision of the Supreme Command. In short, Zelensky gave the order. So, what kind of order did he give? The main task is to prevent the enemy from entering the border areas, to prevent sabotage and terrorist activities near Ravli. Basically, we're looking for enemies of the people, looking for infiltrators, looking for anything we can, and I'm sure they'll be found. Whether these people are actually representatives of some group opposing Ukraine, honestly, I have no doubt. Actually, it's not that I doubt they'll present them that way, I don't doubt that, but I really doubt that they will actually turn out to be some kind of saboteurs or diversionists. So much so that I'm ready to assume that there are already some teams who have been designated as guilty. Residents of the listed regions should be prepared for possible inconveniences. What measures? Restrictions on passage and driving through the streets of certain settlements, document checks, and vehicle inspections. What does this mean? Increased measures. The TCC and intensified mobilization. The police will go wherever they want. That means they can do whatever they want here. From eliminating certain individuals to capturing people in their own homes. Plus, there's also the expropriation of some property. With such measures, they can do anything they want there. Plus, of course, making a profit by using those very 200+ ways of more or less honestly taking money from the population. Nevertheless, They tell us that the security service adheres to the principles of legality, constitutional inviolability, and the rights and freedoms of citizens, as the agency emphasized. But apparently, these will be about the same principles of legality and constitutional inviolability as, say, in the military enlistment office, more or less somewhere around there, give or take, more or less. Well, it's hard to discuss all this because 5 regions will really be subjected to unprecedented control measures, and a country and a smartphone. I've already talked about this more than once. It exists and will continue to push this line. I think the leadership will keep going further and further. And again, the deeper you go into the woods, the bigger those partisans get. Then about nuclear war, we were told that some drone flew in from Ukraine with a nuclear charge, but this topic didn't develop any further. Apparently, it's unlikely. To apparently dispel this topic, sorry for repeating the word apparently so often, Putin spoke about the use of nuclear weapons. He called it an exceptional measure to ensure security. Why am I talking about this? Because we also talk about this in the chat. By the way, subscribe to my Telegram channel. Here it is. Just point your smartphone or tablet camera at this QR code and you'll get to the Telegram channel I'm talking about. Or if you're watching me from a mobile device, there's a link to that very channel right here in the description. And more than once we've discussed that nuclear weapons are a possibility, but Putin says directly that using such weapons, nuclear weapons, is an extremely exceptional measure to ensure the national security of our states. And who else said it? Again, Lavrov said it, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Russia, that right now it's not the time, so to speak. Tell me, who among the Ukrainians is talking about the use of nuclear weapons? So right now, they're resorting to these countermeasures, either diplomatic ones or some kind of public quarrels that politicians use without any shame, even in diplomatic circles. Some agencies are calling each other the worst names. And honestly, it's very strange to watch this. If before, when you watched the news, diplomats actually did a pretty good job, now you see something else. People, it's unclear where they were recruited from, are telling each other to get lost, communicating in some language you can't even call diplomatic, not even just diplomatic, but not even normal. There's swearing, cursing, and these are our diplomats now. Can they really achieve much? Well, I doubt it. Besides nuclear weapons, what does Zelensky have here? Zelensky kept saying the European Union this December and all the rest, we're protecting you, the European Union is obliged to accept us. And then suddenly this Merz guy, how did they say it? Ein starker leader. Oh, tell me if I'm wrong. I think I pronounced it correctly, ein starker leader. Germany came up with an intermediate status in the EU for Ukraine. He addressed the leaders of the European Union with a proposal to grant Ukraine a new intermediate status, associate membership. Well, that's pretty cool, of course. It would allow Ukrainian officials to participate in EU summits and meetings, but without voting rights. Well, in principle, I could also go somewhere and attend some meetings. Maybe even blogging could allow me to get journalist status. Got some kind of badge, what's it called? Well, basically that little sign with your name and position on it. You attend the meeting, go home, tell some cool story, and that's pretty much it. But here there's also an opportunity to participate in budget allocation, and that's something I'm interested in. Merz said that my proposal reflects the unique situation of Ukraine, a country at war, and that it will help facilitate the ongoing peace negotiations. As part of the agreed peace solution, the Chancellor added that this step is important not only for Ukraine but also for the security of the entire continent. Apparently referring to the whole of Eurasia, I don't know if Asia agrees, and as for Europe, it's probably already a separate continent for us. In short, Merz has great knowledge of geography. Reuters says that a clear path to the EU could be critically important for President Zelensky to sell any peace agreement to Ukrainians. Notably, this is very interesting, especially since analysts expect Ukraine won't regain all occupied territories or join NATO. It won't take Ukraine at all, under any circumstances. Not as an associate member, not as some made-up kind of member, not in any other way. Basically, it just doesn't accept it. The European Union says, yes, you have to carry out, let's say, some reforms, and those reforms are just draconian. It's like when someone from the IMF came, not from the EU, but just as an example. The female leader was saying if you're freezing, she addressed this advice to Ukrainians who were really freezing in apartment buildings in Kiev and other cities when there was a massive strike on the infrastructure. And she said that if you're freezing, you should get up in the morning, roar like a lion, and imagine yourself, well, as a member of this lion pride. Well, apparently it's the same thing here. I mean, you're an associate member or a folding one or whatever, but you can roar and imagine yourself as a member of the European Union pride. But at least Zelensky will be able to tell the citizens, guys, we made a choice, it was tough, we fought, but we made a choice, we defended our independence and made a choice. This is that associate membership in the European Union, which allows you to travel. You could travel before, yes, but it doesn't matter, now you can also travel. But actually men can't, only women can travel freely. And this is just crazy. European officials believe that full membership in the EU remains unrealistic for the next few years. I'm talking about Ukraine, despite the fact that the year 2027 had already been written into the 20-point peace plan being discussed by the US, Ukraine, and Russia. It's absolutely impossible to understand who put those points where. As far as I remember, everyone rejected all of this, and from the US side there were even 28 points. From the US side, I think there were exactly 28 points, but Ukraine said no, we won't use the US plan, we'll make our own with 20 points, and that's what we'll use as the basis for peace negotiations. Russia doesn't have any points at all. The spirit of anchorage still reigns there. And everyone who took part in this believes that an agreement should be made in the spirit of anchorage. But this spirit is already more like a stench, if you know what I mean. Give it a like. Then, what else do we have? Well, and again, the attitude towards, well, we're talking about the war. About the war. And here is Ukraine's attitude towards its own veterans. Arbitrariness at rear military recruitment centers revealed by a veteran. In the Ternopil region, we're told, and in other rear regions, employees of the military recruitment centers allow themselves behavior that would be unacceptable even among former convicts at the front. That is, among ex-cons. A veteran, Anton Cherny, says, "My soldiers don't talk like that. Let me remind you, the soldiers are convicts and can't speak to each other that way around him." They can't. Well, it's the same thing repeating here, basically. But some recruitment center guy in the Ternopil region is telling me something or other. There was a conflict between these kinds of characters and those recruitment center guys. They had an argument and ended up extremely dissatisfied with each other. The recruitment center of a well-known person, there's a veteran there, of course, and today, by the way, I read another piece of news. I'll show it to you now in that very Telegram channel I mentioned to you. Here is its QR code. Again, point your cameras at it. And here it says the following, that the recruitment center employees who haven't been to the front will be sent to combat units at the front. And draft notices will only be handed out by those who have participated in combat. Those are the recruitment center staff. If that's how it will be, well, at least there's some fairness in that. Because you see these well-fed guys who have never smelled gunpowder or anything, but when it comes to violence, they're the first to burst into workplaces. I saw them at cafes and auto repair shops, workshops, and they even break into people's homes for many other things. For what? To basify them. When I ask, did you serve or not? They don't even answer in Russian, not in Ukrainian. It's like they're untouchable, just some kind of untouchable caste. But not like the Kshatriyas, even higher. In Ukraine, it's the opposite. This pyramid is flipped. It's like whoever was nothing will become everything. If you remember that saying, give a like to, so they do whatever they want and no one punishes them, whether you speak Russian or you hit them, it doesn't matter. A loyal citizen, no matter what you do, even standing naked on your head. Everything's fine. You're one of the recruitment center guys and no one can tell you what to do. Well, that's just the kind of times we've come to. Well, now let's see what the wise faces think about this. Let's have Zelensky invite them in.
Well then, let's hear from the clowns. Go ahead, comrades.
And now we'll listen to these beacons of thought without whom we simply can't manage. Here we have Fitina, that very same deputy who does nothing for her own people and only wants to sing. And she recently kept forgetting something at her concerts. I mean, she was singing, showing off her oratory and other skills. Anyway, never mind, let's listen to what she has to say. Today, well, actually, yesterday was Vyshyvanka Day, by the way, and we see a journalist with a strained expression, this Fitina, and the deputy Sachuk, for some reason, in a black shirt. It's impossible to understand what the guy in the black shirt is about, but he's watching everything with a suspicious intent to act.
Vyshyvanka Day is just one day. On my page, I'm giving away a military-style banderivka Vyshyvanka like General Zaluzhny's.
Simon military-style Vyshyvanka banderivka. What does a Vyshyvanka have to do with... Well, anyway, by the way, let's see what Zaluzhny is doing now. Again, I posted a photo in that very chat, and it's really interesting. Where did Zaluzhny go? To the Czech Republic to meet with Pavel and another Pavel, just kidding, of course, and to attend yet another concert. So Zaluzhny is sitting in a row of respectable citizens, and probably says good evening. We've only heard him say good morning. The original pronunciation is preserved, and there, he obviously says good evening. He's not wearing a Vyshyvanka. But Fedina says there's some kind of hyper super duper Vyshyvanka model 3K plus Max Plus O Ultra. Well, again, Sachuk looks at all this with some disapproval.
And today you have a chance to donate for the pickup and win a Vyshyvanka like our favorite generals. Yes.
That's real joy, that's real happiness. You can donate for the pickup, that's just wonderful. And our journalist got tense while Sachuk is still looking on with suspicion.
We would be grateful for your support because that's the most important thing we need to do right now.
Well, donate obviously to Fedina for some little concert so she can buy a pickup and drive it somewhere in the frontline area. Well, I mean somewhere near the restaurants in Kiev, that's obviously something worthy. But who would want to make that happen? I don't know. Maybe someone is watching telethons and still looking for where they can donate. But you look at Fedina and think, yeah, that's exactly the kind of patriot who deserves the title of fighter. So that's all for now. I hope your Friday started off well and there were no problems. Have a great day. Goodbye, everyone. To be continued.
So that the viewers understand, this is money for 2 years. These are basically two separate large tranches of 45 and 45 billion. So in principle, this gives a very deep sense of confidence. Confidence for Ukraine in the next 2 years, during which, well, it's possible that we will have to continue the war. To a large extent, that's where these funds are going, which I remind you are mostly being given to us as aid. During all this time, for 4 years of full-scale war, no, these debts, if we ever pay them back, it will only be if we eventually force the Russians to pay.